If I ruled the world.
Rolling.
What episode are we? Episode 6.
This is episode 6, yeah.
Okay, episode 6. We are in the living room of our guest, Vinnie Caruana. How you doing, Vinnie?
I'm doing great. It's good to have you guys here.
It's good to be here.
It's good to see you.
And
it's good to meet you.
Oh, me, yeah.
You,
definitely.
Sam.
Officially. I mean, we met a few times, but, you know, it's the first time I've ever been in your apartment.
Not many people have been in this apartment. We don't have a whole lot of room to entertain.
Undisclosed area.
But
it's in Greenpoint. It's fine.
You did a concert yesterday.
Allegedly.
I mean, it's actually a show. If you say concert, you sound like an old man. But I mean, you did a show here, coincidentally, yesterday on a live stream.
Yeah, so there's this thing called Stage It, and they approached us about doing this thing. I've done a few at this point. It's pretty cool. Like, do a show. Basically, like, the most diehard of fans, you know, get into it, and then they all write to you, and you talk back with them, and you basically just kind of communicate with your diehard fans, sing them some songs and stuff.
That's incredible. If I could do that back then instead of touring, I might still be playing. You know, like, you could be like, all right, this day we're going to do that state, and this day we're going to do that, and it'll feel like touring, but you would never leave the living room.
How did the fans find you?
So you like let them know, hey, at this time we're going to be doing this, and then they like sign up for it. And I probably have done like maybe once a year I'll do it. It's pretty cool. It's very strange, and I was definitely weirded out in the beginning, like, how's this going to be? And at the end of it, you're always kind of like, that was a cool connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in a way, you're basically kind of just doing like this little private show, and everyone's involved. It's just that they're not here.
Yeah.
So.
And in the beginning, it was like I was living in Long Beach at the time, and it's like I'm doing a show like at my house, and I forgot to be like, oh yeah, it's an online show. You're not invited to my house.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's oh, so people just showed up?
Like no, I didn't. No. I was just they're just like, where, when? Like, oh, it's over the internet.
It's an interesting model too, because, you know, what Sam and I always talk about and think about and brainstorm about is how people make money today in this industry. And this is the thing that's pay whatever you want, so you're not overdoing it. But it's sort of a nice cap for, you had a really long touring cycle with TheMovieLife, but it's something different. It's probably a bit of an experiment, and you find it enjoyable. And then there's sort of like, you're not making your fans do anything too crazy. Like, it's $100 to see this.
Oh yeah,
it's whatever you want.
Yeah, you can pay 1 cent if you want. It's really not. I guess we do make a little bit of money, but it's nothing like, you know, crazy.
But it's still it's one of those things where you continue to throw money into the band account by playing music.
I could tell you personally, just doing music full time, you have to do a lot of different things.
You gotta
unless you're a rock star, and you know,
you gotta keep it. From what I imagine, I have no idea, and you have no idea.
Right.
We're on the outside looking in, being like, man, how did like these people just continuously do it? Because it seems like you have to have a ton of revenue streams. But I think as long as like those streams come from music, it's probably way easier to like just do, because you're like playing music, and it's like, all right, I'm going to play music. We're going to do this thing, stage it. You know, no one's being forced to do anything. And see, these are your fans. These are the people that love your music. They're there, and it's like kind of like a special thing, because I'm sure you could interact with them, right?
Yeah, that's like half of it. We like talk and chat, and you know, the stages stuff is pretty minor. I mean, every once in a while you'll do something like that, or I'll do something like that, but it's still, most of it is playing shows and getting out there, and between solo stuff and TheMovieLife and Avalanche and, you know, all the other things that I'm involved with, you know.
So when you get in there, like, I mean, I guess everyone requests either those three, right? So at any minute, like, if they pick, like, you know, the first or second, you know, song off of Avalanche record, you could play it.
I can play any song that I'm prepared to play. As in, like, that I don't have to practice.
Yeah.
You can't, like, press pause on it. So
yeah.
I generally have a little set list, and then, like...
Oh, okay.
Sometimes you can pull one out of your ass, but for the most part, I want to, like, play the song front to back without stopping.
Cool. Yeah.
Just like a show.
And it's interesting, because a lot of the interviews we've been doing so far are with guys that are doing, we were naming it, like, part-time big band. You know, like V.O.D, they all have day jobs, and, you know, they can kind of like manage these vacations and do that, and Glassjaw and all of that. But this is what you do. I looked at your touring schedule. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think you just do music.
I just do music. Sometimes it's really like, wow, this is amazing, and sometimes it's really stressful. Take winter, for example. Yeah. I don't want to drive around in the snow and tour and stuff. Nobody does.
You like me.
Nobody's paying me to play any shows in the winter. So it's like certain times it's stressful to be a musician full time, but a lot of times it's rewarding and it's liberating and still really fun and important to me.
Right. George doesn't know this, but I have severe anxiety in the car when I'm not driving.
I can relate.
Severe. Like if I'm not driving and I'm like, I wonder if we're going to hit an ice patch.
So make that worse during the winter, I guess.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I drove here. That's what.
It's irrational as fuck.
No, it's not irrational at all.
No?
No, not at all.
But
I have an identical fear.
Yeah, it's like I'm like looking at brake lights and like the whole like it's
I thought about it as like the driver mom.
You know what? It's irrational. It's irrational, Vinny. It's irrational, Sam, because you're safe with me. How about that?
No, I'm not. Believe me, you're a fantastic driver. That's all I'm going to say. But it just like irrationality jumps.
Well, we went through that. Like withTheMovieLife, our van. I was with Alex. We were talking about Alex Amarudin. That old guitar player, withTheMovieLife, amazing dude, amazing musician. He was with me. We were together in a van that hit black ice in South Dakota, and our van rolled over.
Yeah.
And ever since that day I have that fear.
You have that fear.
Yeah, I find myself driving like 12-hour shifts on tour because I want to be the one that's in control.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't imagine. I think the two biggest fears for tours, not that I've been on long tours, but definitely a van crash and getting your shit stolen. Those are like the two like that I don't know how anyone could recover from.
Yeah, but that's got to be something. You're young, you feel invincible, and then that happens. And as you get older, you get more aware, and you still have to get into a van, and touring's an uncontrollable situation, and you have to deal with a lot of different things. But you went through this crash, and then I remember there was benefits and stuff like that for your equipment or something like that.
Yeah, so we had a trailer, and our trailer got tossed like. The band that we were on tour with, Reach the Sky, drove by our van. We're like, holy shit, is that them? No, it's not them. They have a trailer. And then they drove by our trailer, like a little bit further down. So our stuff got tossed, and I remember Brian Meehan sat in for Brandon, who broke his wrist in the wreck. Brian Meehan played with us to help us, like, pay for some of the gear and the stuff that was broken. Yeah, I remember that. I forgot all about that.
You know what? We were doing research for this. I forgot about it too, and then it came up, and then it kind of was like, wow, think back then, all the things that you've been through. It's kind of interesting to talk to guys that from back then on Long Island, because there's things, it's so long ago, there's things you kind of forget about, and there's such a big deal. It's not like you played Irving Plaza, that's great. It's like this is an important part of like who you are. Even some of the song titles I was looking at, I don't know if I was reaching, but it was like Survivor's Guilt and these different things, and I was like, wow, I don't know where
I definitely have some like strange. It's not strange. I think we all feel this way, but I definitely am trying to wrap my head around death and loss and stuff like that, and that might take a lifetime. So it shows its head in a lot of my tunes.
I think definitely for at least my songwriting, like once you hit the 30s or like the mid to late 30s, like I'm at, that death thing, like you're like,
that's all you start.
Interesting. You're like, wait a minute.
Your mortality just starts to become kind of, life gets pretty real. The older you get, I've learned.
But it helps the songwriting.
Oh God. Yeah. I just hopefully every song I write isn't about that.
Yeah. But I mean,
depressing.
as long as you have a huge hook and some good melodies, I think it's easier to digest those lyrics.
I think that's a lot of the songs that I've written. A lot of them are not positive songs. Right. A lot of it's very negative on different levels and about different subjects and stuff. But people sing along at shows with smiles on their faces. Right. It's not a
huge hook, and everyone's like, fuck it, we're all here, we're all together, and this is what everyone goes through. So you guys put out a new record. What led you guys to make a brand new record so many years after the last record? And I gotta say, it's really, really good. Like the harmonies from beginning to end, like all the songs are really just like catchy as hell.
Yeah, I'm really happy about the way it came out. And basically, MovieLife started playing shows again, and Brandon and I started hanging out again, and that was really it. Eventually it was like he was working in the city, and we had just moved here. We moved here about 3 years ago to Greenpoint. He just started coming over and hanging out after work, and it just started happening, like grabbing guitars and making noise together. And I don't know, it's a thing that kind of eventually happens, isn't it? It's just kind of like this gradual thing where these two guys who have made a lot of cool stuff together, it's like, well, why aren't we making music if we're around each other all the time again?
And how did the idea go? Because I mean, you guys could have just started something completely different. Was the idea, it's like, all right, we have to make a MovieLife record, or were you just writing songs?
We didn't really consider anything else. Like when we talked about doing a record, we were always like, yeah, we'll make a MovieLife record because we're back together. And MovieLife's been through a lot of changes. Like even since we've been back together, me and Brandon are the only original members in the MovieLife. So it's like something that he and I kind of were just like, all right, we're going to write this thing together and it's going to be awesome. And and it was really difficult in the beginning to write new music. Mm-hmm. We had no idea how to get there. We knew how to get there, but we needed to get to like this. The last time we written a song together was in 2003, and we needed to get to this place that felt right and felt good and felt like there was a progression and something that we could stand behind, but also that fans of the MovieLife were going to enjoy. It took a really long time to
keep that
get there.
Peripheral. It's not like a new band.
Yeah.
You got to keep that peripheral. And then on the other side, you're playing again, and you got to almost treat it like a new band because there's going to be new fans. It's not, there's a certain amount of time in between. So it's this organic, like, balance.
It was a lot of brain work. Like, you did have to consider things. You weren't just free. I mean, we could have done whatever we wanted, and that's fine. And we would have made good songs, but, like...
You guys were just kind of like, I mean, I guess writing songs and thinking to yourself, okay, that's not going to work. So did you go through a lot of songs, or was it just kind of like once you got the first one down, was it like just easier? Or
we started just writing chord progressions and melodies, and something that came like really well to Brandon and I when we were together. So at first there was like no pressure. We weren't saying MovieLife record. We were just writing songs together. And basically I just started being like, it needs to be energetic if it's MovieLife. And so we just started, I remember just being like, you should write a punk song while I'm away. I was going on a solo tour, and I could tell he was freaked out. He was just like, what do you mean, like an old MovieLife song? Or I'm like, don't think about it. Just write a song that feels punk to you. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he didn't, because he was just like, I don't know. Like, and I came home, and on that amp that's right behind you, George, that little amp, I just fired it up and just started writing and just started like just riffing hard in here. And I don't know how the neighbors felt about it or anything, and wrote a song. And I thought it was basically in my brain. You know how it is when you write music and you're like, oh, this is just like blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But nobody else thinks that. It's just you that you do.
Sure.
I remember being like, this is a Pixie song, and I'm going to speed it up. And now it's Fast Pixies. So the first song on the record is called Ski Mask, and it was called Fast Pixies until like the liner notes had to be like turned in.
Definitely try to pick up on that now. So.
Just the chord progressions,
just like Smells Like Teen Spirit. Like Kurt Cobain was like, we tried to write a Pixie song.
Right.
That's it. That's exactly what it was. And
they didn't. When I heard Nirvana, I probably heard the Pixies after Nirvana, to be totally honest. And I still am like, I could see what he's talking about, but still, it doesn't sound like that, and it's a different approach.
I
think it was because it's loud, quiet, loud, which was the name of the documentary on the Pixies later. So it just made sense because it was like loud, quiet, loud. So. But going back to, it totally was energetic, like when you listen to it, and it's been so like long. So, I mean, like anything can go wrong. You see people like bands like Refused at the Drive-In, now your label mates, make these records like so many years later. And it's almost like, do you feel like you have to not start over, but I mean, like you're, maybe it does feel like a new band that you guys have to like grind on it again, right?
It feels kind of new. The fact that it's just the two of us makes it feel different. It feels a little bit like a new project, but not really, because that's the only project I've ever written music with Brandon Reilly in. So it feels totally like Movie Life. But yeah, we spent months kind of. It was that song that kind of opened the floodgates, because I showed Brandon, I'm like this, and he's like, that's the best thing we've done so far. And I was like, cool, so like, you see what I'm saying? And he's just like, yeah. And then from then on, we were able to basically write a record from that song. There's 10 on the record. Maybe we had about 15, maybe.
Okay.
And we scrapped a bunch. We ended up writing 2 songs in the studio, because we were in that environment, super creative. I had this crazy toothache while I was in the studio, I was thinking about like just going and getting this tooth like pulled out just so I could finish the record.
Right.
And this toothache was keeping me up at night, so I would just go down to the studio, and like we were all in the same building. I was like sleeping in like an auxiliary studio on an air mattress.
Sure. Yeah.
And I would just go and grab a guitar and write a song. And then in the morning I'd be like, what's up? And they're all like, what's up? I'm like, I've been up all night and I wrote this song. And then
please go to the dentist now.
Yeah, when you have that tooth pain, like I've had that before, and it's like you get to a certain point where you're just like you'll fucking tie a string to the doorknob like at that point.
I would have yanked it out with pliers, but everybody was
good
probably
people around
like,
you saying
you
need
but I bit. I'm still gonna write an angry letter to this company, man. I remember walking home from Matchless, which is their last night.
Yeah, man, last night.
So sad.
Yeah.
Love that place.
Great bar, great people. I was walking home from Matchless, a bit drunk, and thought I should have a snack. And I stopped, and I got a sensible snack, some popcorn. I feel like popcorn will like fill you up and absorb some beer and stuff. Maybe.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not really I don't eat like
logic.
Slice pizza late kind of thing, but I remember there was like this fucking like such like a Greenpoint like artesian bag of popcorn that was like, it's mini kernels. And I was like, all right. So it's these mini
I already know where this is going, and I don't like
these
it.
mini popcorn kernels make mini popcorn pieces. Yeah. And sometimes in those mini pieces is like a hidden rock of a mini kernel, and I bit down on it, and I knew from that moment what was up. And then we woke up here in the morning, and I was like, huh. She's like, what? I'm like, half my tooth is gone. She's like, well, how? I'm like, I bit into a popcorn kernel like a week ago. That's gotta be why. I think it just broke my shit, and then I swallowed it in my sleep.
Yeah, no mini kernels.
I didn't feel it coming out, thankfully.
I love popcorn too. That's like if you ever wanted to kill
me. I
me,
love popcorn.
If you ever wanted to kill me, just like leave like a trail of popcorn somewhere, and I'll follow that shit, and you just kill me right there. Sometimes I want to go to the movie theater just to buy popcorn and leave.
I bring my own popcorn to movie theaters.
See?
Popcorn's big in my life too. This is a weird thing that we all have that I didn't realize besides music. Just how much I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And the people around me know that.
It's a go-to snack for you.
Are listening to this and laughing. But
I have three specific kinds at home right now as we speak.
Are they all separated by cardboard in the same aluminum tin?
I have kettle, I have light butter, and then I got like the real fat man shit.
You just need butter popcorn. Everything else is blasphemy.
Look at me though.
Well,
Yeah, exactly. Trying to drop a couple, so I got to do the light every now and then.
I like the
doesn't
cheddar popcorn.
yeah. See, that to me is a crime.
Yeah, I
You know,
understand.
I don't take many things seriously, and I don't even call people criminal. But you two are criminals.
Oh, I don't fuck with cheddar, but
Yeah, but you do.
I do light. Yeah,
I don't really fuck with movie theater popcorn because I feel like I don't know.
because it's $18.
Well, the stuff that they put on it, I'm not.
I never get it buttered because I don't know what that fucking butter is.
It's not butter. Let me tell you
Yeah.
that. It's butter.
Can't believe it's not
It's
butter.
butter flavored product.
Okay. Well, yeah.
But we're bringing up bad stuff. You know, the van accident, broke his tooth. Let's talk about some other
It's a very
stuff.
tragic life I
Yeah,
lead.
man, we're just getting off. We're talking about death and all his song lyrics.
Yeah. All right.
No, but I wanted to ask you about playing acoustic.
Okay.
And I know Sam plays acoustic, and I friggin' envy that because it's such a stripped down thing. It feels natural to me for guys like you who are just songwriters. That's like what you do.
Right.
You don't just I'm a singer. You're a songwriter. And there's that transition. You grow up in hardcore. I mean, there's just we figure out how to be better through the energy of a crowd. And now you put yourself in a vulnerable situation in many ways, being acoustic. So talk about the difference and what you feel.
My first solo show ever was really, really scary. I was really not confident. I never really played guitar in front of anyone before my first solo show, except, if it was, maybe a few friends, but I've never played guitar in front of a crowd. My first solo show was in the city. I did this little mini tour with Anthony from Bayside, and he was actually the guy. I remember we were playing a college show together, the Avalanche and Bayside, and he was like, "You want to play some solo shows with me?" And I was like, "I don't really play solo shows." And he's like, "You should." And I'm just like, "Yeah, maybe, but whatever." So then my first show was at this place called the Canal Club or something. It was something down there by Canal Street. I must have stopped a few songs. I was really nervous. The thought of singing and playing guitar and everybody watching me, it wasn't coming second nature yet.
Yeah.
It wasn't just coming to me. So I was just thinking really hard and like overthinking. It was really stressful. And then
were you doing movie life songs or like solo stuff at that point?
I did some Avalanche songs and some movie life songs. I hadn't written solo material yet. Right after that trip, I started writing my own solo material. And that's like a super important thing to me as a musician, my solo stuff. It's like a big outlet for me.
Survivor's Guilt?
Mm-hmm.
Really good.
Thank you.
What I love about it, I was telling Mike Malamo this actually from Inside.
Fuck yeah.
So he has a new band called Star Harbor, but like, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm looking at George. He was
I
like,
shrugged my shoulders.
I don't know. He's another guy. I haven't seen him in forever.
So he's awesome. I talked to him today actually, and they were going for like a Wilco Fleet Foxes thing, and for people like us who like write songs and like, it's so nice sometimes to just sing our melodies over quiet shit, and that's what I feel like Survivor's Guilt sounded like. It was just like a mellower, but still like it was. Like it had fast moments, like it had a lot of really good stuff on it. So I really enjoyed that record. So I was telling him the same thing. It's just like, he's got such a great voice and it just allows these melodies to kind of just, I don't know, it just sounds awesome, It
really is. Solo records definitely are kind of, at least in my experience, it's different. It's kind of more, maybe the vocals are mixed a lot louder than usual and the music's kind of a little bit of a backdrop. Definitely on Survivor's Guilt compared to like the new Movie Life record, for example, I feel like the vocals maybe shine a bit more and there's not as much noise going, like there's not as much noise happening. So yeah, and like I used really light tones on that record. I didn't really use much distortion, and yeah,
it's just different because I mean you do something, you do your thing in the Movie Life, you do the thing with Avalanche, so this is like just like a different flavor,
And yeah, and it should be, because I mean, to make a solo record that sounds exactly like a band that I'm in doesn't make any sense to me. And so yeah, I'm glad you feel that way. I mean, it should be a little bit of a different flavor. My voice sounds the way it sounds, so that's not going to change. But depending on the range that I'm singing in, if I'm really high in my range, I'm yelling, and it becomes more of a raspy, throaty thing. And if I'm in this register, then it's a lot smoother.
Yeah, well, the melodies and the harmonies shine on that record. But let's get back to the Anthony, right? You guys you played your first show.
Oh
acoustic?
yeah, and I never stopped. Like I just started writing songs, and I made a solo EP, and then I made a solo full length, and I've done a lot of solo shows. I'd say in the last 10 years, I've probably played more solo shows than anything else.
And that's solo with a full band or solo just acoustic?
It's always just me alone, except for one tour when I released Survivor's Guilt. I did a full U.S. tour with a band backing me, a bunch of buddies. I had, on the East Coast leg, I had Steve Choi from RX Bandits and Sounds of Animals Fighting. And we actually have a band together called Peaced Out. And then Brandon from Movie Life played bass. Rat from the Avalanche played drums. And then on the West Coast, I had a dude, Roger, my buddy Roger, who plays in Peaced Out with me and Steve. He had a band called No Motive. Do you remember them?
Yes.
Really awesome band. They used to be on Vagrant.
Oh, yeah.
My buddy Joe Martin from this hardcore band called The Warriors played. That was the only time. That was such an amazing experience for me, doing solo shows with a full backing band. It's something that I won't say I'll never do again, but like it's a lot easier for me to accept an offer for a solo show or a tour.
Right.
And not having to put all of that together, you know. It's
Yeah.
also expensive to pay a band to back you.
Sure.
I'm not
Definitely.
Billy Joel, you know.
And you get in your car, you got your guitar, and you go.
Yeah, a bag of merch and some clothes and a few. Yeah, that's basically how I tour. I bring 2 guitars just in case the string breaks. Bring some merch, and it's pretty awesome. Solo touring is really cool. Like, so it's different than and it's really cool because it's a nice change. When I'm done solo touring, I'm super stoked to get back on tour with the band. But like solo tour, it's like, all right, so doors are 7. All right, we'll be there at 6:15. I'll do a quick sound check. Like basically check the levels are right. If there's not a digital board, I won't even sound check, and that's it. It's super easy. Traveling is really fun. Like, you do whatever you want. You go wherever you want. Stay wherever you want. You don't have to ask all your boyfriends.
Right.
Like,
all your husbands.
you don't have to stop at Taco Bell, and then, there's the one vegan dude, and then there's the, no, it's just a nice break. It's liberating, and it makes you enjoy the band stuff even more.
Because the band is like, it's such a, especially when you're younger, the band of brothers, like us versus the world.
Mm-hmm.
And you almost hide behind a name. This is the movie life. This is what we are. And then as you're doing this, like, I admire, you said, this is Vinnie Caruana. It's not even like you're doing a solo project under a name. Solo project, your name, these are my lyrics, and you really then just go out by yourself.
Yeah.
It's so different. In my mind, I'm just like outside looking in, and I admire that you could just do that and be like, it's all me. And it must be nice to be able to be like, all right, I'm done with me. I'm sick of me. Jumping back into the band.
I'm definitely always sick of me. I'm definitely sick of me. Because I just bounce from project to project, and I'm just like, can I just play guitar in this band?
That's it. You're always the singer. You just take on all of this stuff, and it's a unique position. I mean, a lot of the interviews we've been doing, I've been talking to singers because we're both singers, and I like to kind of like talk shop with other guys that wonder how they do it. But there's a lot of pressure. If you're funny, the band's funny. If you're smart, the band's smart. If you're emotional, the band's emotional.
Right.
And you have to constantly go into yourself to figure out what you're going to say next and what all these things mean. And here you are doing it this many years later.
It's pretty wild. A lot of it has to do with guys like you and guys like Tim Williams, you and Tommy Corrigan, Bobby Eckstein.
Yeah.
I was always the little brother. So my brother Mike played in a band called the Warp Weeble Wobbles.
Yep.
They played like the first 50 V.O.D. shows.
Yeah.
So that was my intro into everything. Like, I was listening to alternative music. I was listening to whatever my brothers were listening to, you know. So they I was allowed to go to V.O.D. shows if the Weebles were playing. So I think my like first show was probably V.O.D.'s like third show or something, and like I listened to the pod that you did with Tim.
Yeah.
It's funny, like when he's talking about the early days, I wasn't around for a lot of it because I wasn't allowed to hang out. I'm like 4 or 5 years younger than them.
Yeah.
So I was like the little brother. They didn't want me around and stuff. They were always cool to me though. Like, but my brothers were just like, yeah, all right, you've hung out long enough. Go.
Time to go
yeah,
home.
Time to go hang out with your own friends. When he was talking about that Battle of the Bands in the gym.
Yeah.
I remember them coming home. See, a thing in Merrick was after a show, if not immediately, sometimes immediately, and sometimes the next day, it was like, all right, let's all get together and watch the video of the show that like Franco took.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah.
So I saw a video. I remember them coming into my parents' living room, putting in the video of V.O.D. playing in the gymnasium.
Okay.
And it's so vivid to me. It's like the first time I ever seen moshing. I was like 11 or something, maybe 12 or something. And it was such a strange mosh. You guys got to see this video. I bet it's Franco that has it. Everyone couldn't contain themselves, and as Tim was saying, like everybody, like all types of people in the high school were so into V.O.D. like overnight.
Yeah.
Because it was this aggressive thing that like punk and hardcore and metal people can get into, but also jocks could get like really pumped on like the football game and stuff. They used to come out to V.O.D. in the pep rallies, even when I was in school.
Yeah.
And they had long left school. V.O.D. would come on in the pep rallies.
They had Merrick.
That's crazy.
You're from Merrick? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm from Merrick. We grew up like, I don't know. We live on one side of the high school, and Tim and Kennedy grew up on the other side of the high school. So we were probably like a half mile from where Tim and Kennedy grew up. They grew up like right down the street from each other. But I was like, that was my brother Mike. His good friends were Kennedy and Tim and those guys, and so.
And it's nice when
that was my intro.
When you have like older like siblings that like get you into shit. You know, that's like my biggest complaint about like my life. Where it's just like I was the oldest, so like and my parents had shitty taste in music, so the oldest usually at least gets something from their parents and stuff. But you know, when you have older brothers and they're playing shows with V.O.D., so I mean, shit.
That builds character though. You had to do your own digging.
I was digging.
I was scavenging. But I mean, and then the V.O.D. and the Weebles was like the beginning. And then that was the first show I saw. Like after that was when they connected with you guys. So that was really cool for me to listen to Tim like and you talking about when those kind of things.
Everything intersected at some point. And I remember sort of that, like V.O.D. Merrick just came into Long Island hardcore, like.
And there was a lot of Merrick kids.
Not like 5 or 10 people, like a huge influx.
Shows got bigger when Merrick showed up.
Meeting your older brother and meeting the Warped Weeble Wobbles, and like for people that don't understand about Warped Weeble Wobbles, they were funny like a jokey band, but smart. Like you were in on the joke, not funny like they would look back and be like, "Oh, why did we write that?" Like it's funny, and everybody knows it's as funny as it is, and it's all those guys' sense of humor. Yeah, which is. But there was one thing I was remembering, and I remember this a couple of days ago. I remember, and this kind of like leads into what you're saying about your older brothers and V.O.D. being older than you. Mm-hmm. I think we were at Matt Baumbach's house, or maybe it was your house, and you and Daryl were in the basement. House? It was somebody.
Oh, was there a party?
It was a party.
Yeah.
You and Daryl were in the basement, and we were all upstairs like drinking and everything. I remember I came downstairs like talking to you guys, and Daryl was like, "What is it like when you do mushrooms? Do you see like pink elephants and stuff like that?" And I totally remember that. And it was like you guys were like tuckered out, like hanging out together down in the basement. And I was like, well, you know, when you do mushrooms, Daryl, the way it is, you know, and I was like trying to explain it or whatever. But I couldn't remember what year it would be, but it was, I was still in Mind Over Matter. It was 94 or something like this.
That sounds pretty good. Yeah. 94, 95.
Well,
I remember.
Whose house would that be? Would
that
be
was
house?
My parents' house. Yeah.
Okay.
So my parents were what used to go away a lot. And my brothers Do you remember BJ?
Sure.
The other brother? BJ's the middle brother. I'm the youngest. Mike and BJ had a lot of the same friends, and then they were all friends with you guys. And at that point, I was like 14 or 15, and we had just started seeing, we were huge fans of Mind Over Matter, Silent Majority, Neglect, V.O.D. The V.O.D. thing was fine because we knew them from our town, so it wasn't like. But when you would talk to us, we were always just like, holy shit, it's George.
And I was like,
from Mind Over Matter.
Saying bad stuff to little kids? Cause
no.
You even look super young now. So back then, when you were 14, 15, I looked like, I was like
George is on
12 years
shrooms
old.
right now.
Well, me and Daryl were both straight edge.
Yeah.
And we were both, and we're both not anymore. We actually broke. That's a good story, I can tell.
Oh, please.
We broke straight edge together.
Feels like a rude question to ask. When did you break the edge? But
no, it's a good story. So what was I saying before that?
How George, I guess.
Oh yeah, we
guys
used to
looked
be a
up
little
him.
bit starstruck.
Yeah.
And people would always find their way over our house because my parents would always be away. So my brothers would have friends over. I remember one time I because we could roam in and out of the party. We were okay. Like we weren't we were okay. And everyone got a kick out of Daryl too, because Daryl at 15 years old was like, just like the Energizer Bunny,
Totally.
know. So like the two of us, yeah, God knows what me and Daryl were talking about in the basement before you showed up. Like, who the fuck know? I don't even
know what you were talking about after I left.
Yeah. Well, we were very open-minded, straight-edge kids. Mm-hmm. We were surrounded by friends and family who were not straight-edge, and we embraced it. But I remember specifically one of those parties, and maybe you'd remember as well. I walked into my brother BJ's room because Mike lived in the basement, I think. Okay. And BJ lived across the hall from me, and we went in the room. What was the drummer in Neglect and Mind Over Matter's name?
John LaFada.
John LaFada. And we were like, holy shit, that's... We were basically just being like picking out like the stars of Long Island that, we were just the young kids. Holy shit, that's John LaFada from Mind Over Matter and Neglect. And he was standing on BJ's bed, and they had his 6-foot bong, and he was smoking.
Sounds about right.
And he was standing on the bed.
That sounds right.
Somebody brought a 6-foot bong to that party. Like, they brought it, because I don't think my brother had a 6-foot bong. I mean, maybe he did. I don't know.
It's possible. That sounds about right, too.
Mm-hmm. What does that even look like? Walking down, like...
It's about 6 foot.
You probably like wrap it in a sleeping bag. I mean, off the top of my head, I would wrap it in a sleeping bag.
I'm sure they rolled in like that.
I don't smoke pot, but that sounds like no fun.
That sounds like no fun. We had my friend had the same
work.
thing, and he called it J-Roo. So because I guess J-Roo, the Damager, was big at the time, but we would smoke out of that thing, and it was just ridiculous. I mean, it never left the house, but I think it was just more like a visual thing, like, look at this thing. So. Well,
potheads have a work ethic, just in a totally different way.
They're dedicated.
Yeah,
sure.
Very dedicated.
I'm like the least dedicated. I'm not a pothead. I'd say I was a pothead at one point, but this is as far as I go. I don't even smoke weed anymore. I just smoke this thing.
Up the vape, you and everybody else.
Just a little, protect the vocal cords. I don't like burning. I don't like smoke going in my body anymore.
Sure. That is true.
But
vaporized marijuana is the way to go.
We're not going to go any further until you tell us the story of Breaking Edge with Daryl Palumbo.
Okay. So me and Daryl, really good friends for a really long time. We're not as close as we used to be, but we still, care deeply about each other. But me and Daryl crammed enough into, we've been through a lot together, and crammed enough life into like a 15-year period to where we don't need to see each other every day anymore. Yeah. So Breaking Edge. Oh, well, first of all, straight edge. We were both straight edge on our own accord, and then we met, and then we were like, oh, we're both straight edge. That's cool. Right. And we were both the younger dudes going to shows, at least in our area. Yeah. Like Merrick, Belmore. There weren't that many younger dudes yet.
4 or 5 years back then is like decades.
Yeah.
Now it's like, we're kind of like the same age, but back then it felt like...
Yeah, and we felt little. We were little. Yeah. I mean, I was like 70 pounds, and you guys are all men, and
ish.
And me and Daryl we both got straight edge tattoos together when we were like 18 from Chris Koutis.
Oh, cool.
I remember we were rolling dice in Da Vinci like after hours, and like maybe I think I have this right. I think the bet was like Chris would like, if I won, Chris would tattoo us or something like that. And that's how we ended up we both got 3 X's inside of our lip.
All right.
And
that's dedication. The lip.
Yeah. So every time I take a sip of beer, it passes right over my straight edge tattoo. It's total desecration.
But it's poetic.
Yeah.
At the very least.
Yeah. So okay, so when we broke edge, so Daryl had been working on Head Automatica, and this is before anybody had heard them yet, and they had the record recorded, and Movie Life was ending, and Daryl was like, what if you played in Head Automatica? And I'm like, okay, what do I do? Like, play guitar. So I started playing a shitload of guitar to try to get up to snuff, you know, because I was just wasn't very good at guitar. I'm still not very good.
And that was like very different guitar.
Yeah, but like the things that he wanted me to do, there was a lead guitar player who was nasty. He was in the original guitar player. The original guitar players of Head Automatica were myself and the lead guitar player Brandon, who played in Lovage with Mike Patton.
Exactly.
And
that is the Dan the Automator connection.
That's the connection. Well, the connection was Daryl just really sweat Dan's stuff, like a lot of us did.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Daryl was just, I think he had like a major label budget and was like, I want Dan the Automator,
right.
you know? And then Head Automatica became, you know, some of Dan's dudes. Mm-hmm. Jim Greer played, he's awesome, still a friend. He plays keyboard, he played keyboards. Brandon played lead guitar. So I was just playing power chords and doing my thing and singing harmonies, which was really fun, something I'd never really done. I was always the lead singer. So anyway, we were spending a lot of time in San Francisco where Dan and his guys are at, and they were mixing the record, and I kind of jumped in and became part of the situation.
Right.
And I remember on the flight, like we kept flying back and forth to San Francisco, and we would spend a month, come back, spend 2 months, come back, spend 3 months. I just remember that was our life, like flying back and forth to San Francisco,
right?
Which was so fun, really amazing time, amazing city, like really good times. And I remember on one of the flights, I was just like, I'm not straight edge anymore. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I'm not straight edge anymore. I haven't felt that way in a long time. I just don't do anything. And he's like, what are you going to do? I'm like, when we get to San Francisco, I'm going to roll a joint and smoke it. And he's like, what are you fucking... He's like, are you kidding me? I'm like, he was definitely like taken back. And I was just like, yeah, I mean, I just feel like that's what I want to do now. So I'm going to do that.
Right.
I don't think I had a drink for like 6 months after I like broke edge. I wasn't interested in I just wanted to smoke a joint. Right. I smoked weed when I was like 11, 12 years old before I became straight edge.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I liked it. And then I met Andre and Franco, and they were the straight edge guys in Merrick. And I was like, straight edge, that's cool. And at the same time, I was listening to Minor Threat and was like, this is where it's at, you know? Anyway, so we get to Brandon, the dude from Lovage, and Head Automatica's house. That's where we would live when we were there. I was like, can I roll some of that weed? And he's just like, yep.
You know how to do it?
I mean, you see people do it, and you're like, I
could never do it.
See, it looks like it's complicated to me.
Yeah, look,
he gave me they make papers. It's the only other time I've ever used one of these. They make papers that have a little metal, like kind of a pipe cleaner kind of size metal thing on one side of the paper. Mm-hmm. So when you roll it, it's like made to roll tightly,
like training wheels.
Exactly. Yeah. So he gave me one, probably just like, here, use this one.
Yeah.
This was before YouTube could show you how to roll one.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
And I remember just sitting on his couch and just rolling a joint, and Daryl is just looking at me like, oh my God. And I'm just like, yeah. And I just lit it up and smoked it. And like a few puffs into it, he's like, pass me that. And I was like, yeah? He's like, yeah, fuck it. And we smoked. And me and Daryl smoked an entire joint, which I wouldn't do now.
Right.
An entire joint of like, God knows, like crazy California shit. We smoked an entire joint and we couldn't get off the couch. He went to bed. We were texting him. He was like upstairs with his wife. We're texting him like, what did you put in this? Like, we couldn't get up off the couch. We were so hungry, but we were terrified to go anywhere but the room that we were in. Yeah. We were tripping on weed, like 100% tripping on weed. And then we never looked back after that. We smoked every day together for years.
Did it just feel like this like new chapter in life? Like you're in San Francisco, you're in a new band, you're playing guitar and just singing harmonies that you were just like, you know.
Yeah, my life came to this new place.
Yeah.
And I was open-minded enough and comfortable enough with who I was and whatever.
Right.
To where I was like, because I think early, like if I was still a teenager going to hardcore shows, like selling out and not being straight edge anymore was a thing.
Yeah.
It was a thing that like people would get mad about and stuff. And like when I was just like, oh, well, once I became, you know, I was probably 23 or 24 or something. I just remember just being like, yeah, I don't care about what anyone thinks. I'm an adult. Like I'm going to do my thing. And I'm really glad I did. Like I've, you know, I enjoy not being straight edge. I enjoy having a beer with a friend or,
I did the reverse. Yeah. I started out in drugs. Now I don't do anything. So.
Right. Yeah. Drugs, I can't back drugs at all, but I can back weed for sure.
Absolutely. I would, I say this all the time. I would rather be in a room with 10 potheads than 2 drunk people all day long.
Yeah.
So.
And it's also like if sometimes I think back then, and it's just what kids do. You're extreme about something. So straight edge is the thing. And then 6 months later, I would see them at a rave and they'd be out of their minds. So to just come to a point in your life where you're like, I just want to try this. It's sort of different than like jumping from one thing to another. But that's what, when you're young,
was the rave scene, wasn't it?
Yeah, it
was. I would
kids.
see more hardcore kids at raves, and they'd always be like, what are you doing here? I'm doing whatever. What are you doing here? Like,
yeah.
I'm not allowed. They're like,
I know what I was doing there. So that record comes out and stuff. Like, how long were you in the band for?
Oh, not a very long time. So I played 2 shows. We played at Spaceland in LA, which is a really cool show. Like full on, played a set of Head Automatica tunes. We did a Squeeze cover.
How was it promoted?
It was probably like people knew that Head Automatica was Daryl's group, and so I think people came out on like the strength of that. It's a small place. It's the kind of place that you do like showcases in and stuff. Mm-hmm. I remember the dude from Saving Private Ryan, what the hell is his name? He's one of the guys. Sizemore? He's the Jewish guy who he's like yelling at the Nazis when they're walking by that he's Jewish.
You know who else? He was in Days of Confused.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Absolutely. His name's like Adam Goldberg or something.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I never knew his name, but that was we looked up on stage and there he was. His band was like opening the show.
And, I just want to dance.
And actually, I did take drugs that night.
Nice.
I don't really. I'm not a drug guy, but we took ecstasy like immediately after we got off stage.
When in Rome?
The Spaceland at LA. I don't know what the Spaceland is, but in LA, that sounds about right.
We met like. It was a real LA night. We took ecstasy, went to a club. Kelly Osbourne was DJing.
Say no more.
There was like a lot of celebrities and shit there, and then we all went back to the pool, the hotel pool, and Maroon 5 walked in, and we were all like black. Our eyeballs were completely dilated. Black. Yeah. And I remember being like, yo, what's up? Maroon 5. This is before a lot of people knew them.
Yeah.
But they were still like a big band on the radio. And MovieLife had been detained at the Canadian border. And another band got detained in their van and trailer. And it was Maroon 5. So we bonded.
Oh, get out of here.
So when they walked in, I'm like, I don't know if you... I'm like, I come up to whoever it was in the band. And we're all raging. And I'm just like, I don't know if you remember this. Canadian border. You were hanging out. You were detained, so were we. And the guy goes, Movie Life. And I was like,
great.
what the fuck? I couldn't believe it.
That's awesome.
And yeah, what the fuck was I saying?
The first show, you guys were having a very LA night.
Oh yeah, so we had an LA show. So I really got it in. The 2 Head Automatica shows that I was in the band was that show, and then we played at Sundance Film Festival.
Oh, no kidding.
And we played, like, Dan the Automator played both of those shows with us too, like with turntables and stuff.
Jesus.
It was before like Daryl figured out that it was like a rock band and that's all it needed to be, you know?
Right. I remember it was going to be something different in the beginning, and then it turned out to be more of like just a pop band.
Yeah, like I think he was definitely going for a Primal Scream kind of thing, and like we were listening to a lot of the Caesars. You know the band the Caesars? They're this awesome, I think they're a Swedish band. Anyway, you know how it's with any band; it just turns into what it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? But yeah, I would play on stage, right, and Dan the Automator would be next to me. Wow. Which was crazy.
That guy, I had Cool Keith on my other show, and man, like Dr. Octagon was huge for all of us, probably. Like at that point, like it was just one of those records that everyone loved. So
and
like
huge for Dan too. I mean, that made him a name, and that made him a guy everybody wanted to work with and shit.
You played 2 shows, and I guess it just didn't work out. And I guess, like you said, he wanted to have like more of like a pop direction or something.
No. So Daryl would go back to New York at times, and then the band would just be out. This is when we were rehearsing, and I was writing all this music, and the first I Am the Avalanche songs, I was just jamming with Larry from Head Automatica and Glassjaw, and Josh from Nightmare Review, Josh from American Nightmare, and Nightmare Review's Brandon Reilly's band. So I started working on music, and then it just became a thing where they were going on tour. Like, we're touring with Thursday. We're going to go out for 5 weeks. And it was just like, and I think, in fairness, I think me and Daryl were butting heads on some things, like just life stuff, you know? Yeah. And like, we had started to kind of, I don't know, it all kind of happened at the same time. I want to start my own band, blah, blah, blah. So I told him, I'm like, I'm quitting the band. You're going to be better off, which they were. They got Craig Bonich to play, who was another dude we grew up with. He's a Belmore guy, super talented, and he ended up playing guitar, which was way sicker for them, like, because he's a guitar player. You know?
Did you find yourself like, because like this is why, you know, what I'm thinking for me, was it difficult to kind of play that second, like that backup role when like you write your songs and you sing?
Oh God, it felt amazing.
Yeah. Okay.
It was like as good as it would feel right now to just be a guitar player in a band. That's
maybe
what
there's
it
something
felt
wrong
like.
with me then.
No, it was my time in Head Automatica and with those guys and being in San Francisco and playing, and honestly, like, you know, Daryl, I'm a self-taught guitar player, and I'm not technically gifted. And there's certain chords that I'll play still where I'm like, oh, that's a Daryl chord. Like, he taught me that chord. You know what I mean? I learned a lot. It was an amazing time with amazing friends. So, no. And playing second fiddle was awesome. Like, I was super down with that. And then the time came where I wanted to do it. I was writing music, and I wanted to do my thing full on. So then I did, and started on the Avalanche.
And you still do that now. It seems to be you have this like kind of a trio that happens, you know, solo, I Am the Avalanche, and the Movie Life, and I guess you get all different things out of this. Yeah,
those are my things. Those are my main things. I Am the Avalanche has been pretty quiet lately, but we're going to be playing some shows this year for sure.
Right.
Now, when you write stuff, do you automatically know like what feels like, you know, like do you like, you know, in the songwriting, do you just like think like, okay, this feels like a Movie Life song, this feels like an Avalanche song? Like, how does that songwriting go?
Usually I'm in like a cycle where I know what I'm writing for and it's in front of me, so I go there. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So this Movie Life record is still going. This cycle won't end. We're going out from April till mid-June or something. So it's like, that's going on. The record's done. It's out. Now I'm writing, solo material. At the same time, me and Brandon hung out yesterday and we were talking about starting to write more Movie Life stuff just to get a head start. But writing solo material, I'll usually write it these days, especially after Survivor's Guilt. I'm not going to do another full band record this time. So it's acoustic guitar time, and that's when I'll write on the acoustic guitar, and with the idea that it's going to be like minimal instrumentation on the record. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So like that's at least a guideline that I can stick to. If I took that chord progression and brought it to Brandon, we can, there's no rules.
No rules.
I can take it anywhere.
And once you like bring it to like certain people, it always changes anyway. So it's like, here's the idea, and it depends who's coloring in that stuff. So it's like,
Yeah, and who's playing with you, and who's producing it,
they
and
do their own
everything.
Thing.
Yeah.
So you're already looking at next year. The calendar's filling up. And you've been doing this for how many years now? 20 years, feels like?
Since I was 19 is when the Movie Life started.
Okay.
And I'm 38 now, so 19 years.
So how does that feel now? You're still on the road, and I'm speaking specifically about the road, touring.
Mm-hmm. I feel lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time I'm excited to be on the road. Sometimes I'm not when it's snowing. I'm usually like, we can miss this show. Let's pull over and get a hotel room in a 30 rack. And
what does the rest of the band feel about that?
We haven't done that with the Movie Life. Avalanche, we would do it, and not we weren't being reckless.
Oh, you played actually. John Oliva was your bass player for a minute.
Yeah,
right?
John Oliva. Avalanche, the same thing happened. That happens with every band of old dudes. Is not everybody can go out. Not everybody can fulfill the what everybody else wants to do. So yeah, John Oliva played with Avalanche for like the last year.
So talented.
Oh, super talented.
Yeah.
He's awesome. And a great guy to have around too. We got really lucky with Avalanche when Avalanche was truly a band of brothers. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was, when those guys were like, I can't go out on tour. I can't,
Right.
It was so weird to get someone else because it was such a tight-knit group. John Oliva coming in was really cool, because he's such a great guy, and he is talented as shit.
I mean, but you do have to, in order to keep things moving, in order to fill up that calendar, you have to repopulate your bands. Movie Life, I Am the Avalanche, just to have those bands tour. And then how does that feel, like changing over band members and just,
It's felt kind of natural as I've gotten older because everyone does it now.
Yeah.
It's just a fact of life kind of thing. Movie Life, me and Brandon wanted to tour for real because we're putting a record out and we wanted to give it the real deal treatment, which is exactly what we're doing.
Yeah.
Not everybody could do that.
Right.
And that's life. But when with Avalanche when we did it, it's really just the driving force. Music is your driving force. You get over it. It sucks because it's not always a comfortable conversation. It's not always fun.
Right.
But at the same time, it's kind of like, well, I want to sing these songs and this is what we're going to do. And I'm always on this thing where it's, I'm on this life's too short thing. And I think that has a lot to do. We were talking about our mortality and stuff like that. Like, right. I'm on this trip where it's just like, listen, life's too short not to do what we feel like what we need to do. So if that means we need to, adjust certain situations, then you just do. And in the name of music and in the name of Father Time.
Right. So beyond playing in the bands that you do songwriting. You do, and what I mean by that is songwriting for other people. Is this newer for you? Tell us about that.
It's pretty new. So the deal with that is, so a few years ago, I did a publishing deal, meaning I was doing a solo record. I shopped the record to a publishing company, and they...
Is that different than like shopping it to a label?
Totally, yeah. So I already had a label. So what a publishing company does is they make money off of your music. And some artists, which I never did, but I ended up doing it before my solo record, or we were speaking to them, and then I turned it in, and then so they buy. So there's all these songs from. So I guess this is a lesson on what publishing deal is to anybody who's listening that doesn't know.
It's confusing to a lot of people, even artists who sign publishing deals.
Yeah, I think it's
so break it down.
I think it's confusing to me as well. But very basically, I own lots of songs. There's certain songs that I own a little part of. There's certain songs I own bigger parts of, and there's certain songs I own the whole song. If it's my solo record, I own the whole song. If it's I Am the Avalanche, it's different types of splits depending on who wrote what. Movie Life, we always split like between everybody. So anyway, so they do all that math and they say, okay, well, we're going to buy your body of work. And so what happens is if you retain ownership of all the stuff that you did and all the little percentages of whatever songs you've worked on, it turns into quite a catalog. And there's people that are interested in having you aboard and having your body of work around for various shit that they generate. They can generate money. So I had never done that, and it appealed to me. So they came to me and we did a publishing deal, meaning I sold them 50%. I still own 50%.
Okay.
They give you an advance. In like the rock and roll rocker days, like before the music industry crumbled, those advances would be like $1 million.
Right.
They're not like that anymore.
Sure.
But it's still awesome. Like, getting an advance, doing your thing. I reinvested it into like, I was like paying musicians to come and tour with me. Sure. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. I was paying like dudes to come out on tour, and I was like, making moves with all that. They were like, do you want to be involved on the other side of like publishing as well? And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, you could come in and write music. You could come in and write for other artists, or you could write with other writers for other artists, or for commercials, or for whatever. So I said, yeah, I want to do that. Yeah. Like I had like gotten to a point with songwriting where I was like confident enough where I could bring something to the table, and that's what I did. My first session, I was working with a 17-year-old kid who was making a record. He's on a major label. His label had him come in and write with a bunch of dudes. Wow. And ladies. And he's making a rock record, so that's usually the thing, rock and pop kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. So everyone sits around and like, are you listening to like these half songs that the kid wrote, and then you're like, maybe a different chord would sound good here, maybe extending a chorus, like, so you guys were all just kind of sitting around giving ideas?
That particular situation, no, we sat down in a room together in the city. There's like studios inside the company's offices, and we have a studio and a session. We have an engineer at our disposal, and we sit there and we write. We just write from scratch. It's not always like that. There's been times I've gone in where a song exists and it doesn't have lyrics, and I go, cool. Or melodies, Mm-hmm. So I'll go, cool, I can do that. And then I'll just pen and paper, write a song, demo it over the track. And then, so I've done that. And then I write with other writers where we just kind of make something. And that's kind of the way it works. It's an interesting world, and it's really cool. And it's opened my eyes and kind of helped me grow as a writer,
Sure.
Do you see like a future? Like, I mean, that seems like a really cool thing to stay in, like for someone who's playing music for the rest of their lives, right?
Yeah, I'm in. I'm down. As long as they want to keep having me be there, I'm super down to go and write and work with all these different people. And it's really cool too. I was speaking with my wife about it. Part of the deal is that there's like a little travel budget, which I haven't touched yet. So, London, New York, Nashville, LA.
Okay.
That's where Anthony lives now, right? Bayside, Anthony?
Yeah, he lives out in Nashville, yeah.
I think he's doing the same thing down there, kind of?
Actually, he and I have talked about it. I don't know where he got with that. I was telling him about the same thing I'm telling you about. I don't know. I haven't spoken to him in a little bit. I don't know where he's at with that. But so, yeah, I was thinking this winter I would duck out and like visit some other places and write with some of those writers and try and just, I don't know. It's with anything.
Drive vans or anything in the winter. The winter could be your songwriting sessions. And almost even in the way we started this podcast, like I said, we're always interested in how artists make a living, revenue streams.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that you might not have even seen yourself doing. And here you are. You don't have to tour on it. You don't have to like stand up and be like, this is my song. It's a right with
someone
other
else
guys.
is going to
It's
sing
fantastic.
those songs.
Yeah, absolutely. And also like you like sharpen your tools, man.
Oh, totally. And some of the people that I work with are insane. Like, I've had very little bad experiences and pretty much only good experiences over there writing with people that everyone's got their own flavor and technical ability. And I'm very plain when I write with people. I'll like, a lot of times you'll meet them for the first time, and sometimes it's cold and you're just kind of like, let's break the ice. Should we go have a drink somewhere? Like, we always just, I think a really good way to do it, and what I try to steer it to a place sometimes. If it's like, so what do we do?
Let's break edge together.
Yeah, you want to break edge all over again? No, I think a lot of times we're just like, what have you been listening to? Play me something. Because we have a console with like crazy sound system and shit, and we're just like, play me some shit that you've been into, play me something you've been working on. Or it goes from anywhere from that to like, what have you been into?
Right.
A dude that I wrote with, this really awesome writer. He was working on like Broadway stuff after our session. He's a guy that I was like, I got to get in a room with this guy more often, let that shit rub off on me. That session, we like, for the first 2 hours, we just watched a documentary about like religious cults. Because
fair enough.
He's like, what have you been into? I'm like, I've been watching documentaries about cults. You would not believe this.
Jesus
this
Camp.
one.
Right.
The one with the dude, the really handsome, like tan, muscular guy with the long, is like this LA religious cult that started
I thought you were
it
describing me. I'm sorry.
Especially tan.
Yeah.
Tan, muscular, religious.
Anyway, so anyway, like that's how it is over there. It's really loose. We make stuff, and it's with anything. It's like the more you do, the more you just have, and like the more opportunities pop up. All this, I could get a call tomorrow being like, "Oh, that song's gonna be in, so and so." I'm like, "Oh, awesome."
You've entered the matrix.
Yeah, and it's cool. Like, and we're in Greenpoint, so we can jump into the city like north.
Right.
So their office is over like uptown, like just below Central Park. So I could like get there in like 20 minutes from here. It's awesome.
And what a way to sharpen your skills. Because I think playing in a band, touring, you have to be around people. You got to be in a lot of weird, tough situations that people might not even understand.
Right.
But everything changes. Then you go solo, you do acoustic. And here's another thing where you get into a room with someone that you don't even know. You got to find a way to relate. It's kind of a frontman thing.
Yeah.
Trying to relate. It's a band member thing, studio language. And then on top of it, here you are going, I think, different than anyone I know, which is the songwriting thing professionally, which is it's a whole other world. Like you said, you entered the matrix.
You entered the matrix. I used to take vocal lessons from a lady. Her name was Melissa Cross.
Yep, I know her.
So
I take vocal lessons with her every time I look on my phone.
Yeah,
I have a little video from her, and
do
she
you?
coaches me.
Nice.
I went to her once, and
above the pencil.
Yeah, she's a really amazing woman.
Yeah,
she's heard me do the
me.
My lovely wife, to the listener, my lovely wife she doesn't have a microphone, but she's chilling on the couch. That's who we're talking about.
Here.
Say hello.
Hi.
Hi, that's Laura Caruana of Houston, Texas.
Hey yo.
We got schooled on Houston, Texas for a few minutes in the break.
She's never met Bushwick Bill, but she is teaching Vinnie on some Houston hip hop. So
I think Bun B is one of the best.
Oh, Bun B is
amazing.
Yeah, so
he's so good.
We were talking about the ASAP Rocky stuff. Like he's very influenced by Bun B and like UGK and all that stuff. So very much so. So
we'll have to dig in.
We'll be sitting sideways after this. So I used to take vocal lessons from her. And
is that a Paul Wall reference? Sideways?
Yeah.
Sitting sideways?
Sitting sideways.
I got the reference.
Not bad, Vin.
So
You've only known her for 15 years. You got this.
We're looking for a Paul Wall grill.
You don't really listen to Paul Wall, though.
No.
I've never listened. Oh, maybe you have. Yeah.
Yeah, that song's great.
He's
though.
a jeweler, as far as
Right,
he
yeah.
makes all the grills.
Yeah.
We're
That's as much as I know about Paul Wall.
Right.
That's all you need to know. So 10, 15 years ago when I went there, she's like, you don't really strike me as a front man. She's like, but you write really good songs, so you should really try to like get into like the writing songs business. And I was just like, yeah, okay. And I just kept playing in my band. Right. So we went nowhere. So, but still, like, it was still like,
that doesn't mean she was right, by the way.
No, but
being in a band that people like freak out about is like, that's hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea was so romantic to me. Like so to listen to you, like I said, you entered that matrix where it's like you get to try out all the shit that, like every superpower that you've cultivated, like that you've made, like you get to try these things out. Now you're a songwriter and you get to constantly try these things out with all three of your projects and now with other people. Like
right,
that's
yeah.
like,
it's really driving me and kind of it's moving me. And
yeah, man,
I'm making songs. There's songs that no one's ever heard and maybe they'll hear one day and stuff, but like there's songs that no one like that I've made that people wouldn't believe is me. You know what I mean? And that's really important. Like, it's just, there's tons of doors. The doors in my brain are open now, and I'm not just going on like this one track thing.
And it's because of like a work ethic. You're talking about doing it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't that like opens other parts of your brain?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, I gotta go right now. It's just who you are.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not time to write music and not write lyrics, and I'm sure you guys are both like, sometimes it's just not there and you just need to leave it for a second. And like after I do a bunch of stuff and I feel like I've my output has been crazy, like I will pull back. Like I haven't really written much this year. Once the TheMovieLife record got recorded, I kind of took a break because I just knew, I guess I didn't really take a break. I was working on some stuff at BMG and stuff, working with some other writers on some cool shit, but like I was definitely taking a break from writing my own music.
You had 2 records basically back to back. Right?
Yeah. It's been that way for a while lately. Like this has been the most prolific era of my life, like the last, I don't know, 5-6 years. I got into like there was a time between the first I Am the Avalanche record and the second, there was like a 6-year period, and we toured forever on that record, and it was great. But I hit like a weird kind of period. It was like right when, I don't even know what year it was, but I started bartending in the city. I started feeling pretty comfortable just making money in the city and not going on tour.
Sure.
And that went on for a while. Everyone in the band was just working, bartending, making money, having fun, meeting our future wives and stuff. You know what I mean?
It's good to be around for a minute.
Yeah, exactly. But I snapped out of it super hard, like 2011 or something like that. Whenever Avalanche United came out, from that moment on, I've released a lot of records from then till now. And that's been really important to me. Like something happened where I was like, what am I doing? Right. Like, am I doing this or am I not doing this? Like I either let this die or like dive back into it. And for my soul, like I needed to write and I needed to do it again. I'm really glad I did too. 'Cause it keeps me healthy, like mentally doing what I do.
Whenever we don't release anything, it bums me out. I'm just like, because I write so much that it's like there's no excuse. But like last year was kind of, 16 was, a lot of stuff happened, life happened, and it just, I don't know, it just bums me out whenever we don't get to record. I'm just like, what am I doing with my life?
Right.
It's a weird thing with artists too. I think when they start getting comfortable. The true artists to the bone that I know, maybe some of the guys that we've been talking about on this podcast, like they get like, wait, I gotta do a record or do that next artistic thing, whatever it is. And, we all like to be comfortable, but I think artists get a little weird about comfort. Maybe you're getting a little comfortable with bartending. Maybe you're getting a little comfortable about being around. You're like, wait a minute, what am I doing? I gotta snap. I can't be too comfortable.
Right. I got to get back to that part of me, or at least that part of me needs to exist with the other parts of me, Yeah, I'll write music forever. Even if I stop making records which I don't, I'll always record it because I feel like that's part of the process. I'm a realist. I don't know how long this is going to go for me. I don't know how long people are going to come to see me play and my various things and stuff. Like, I'm going to be old. I'm going to be an old dude at some point that's not going to want to go, and whose fans are going to be old people. Right. You know, it's like, I know that. So that's where that urgency comes in, where I'm just kind of like, let's go, let's make records, let's tour, let's do this, you know, because you can do it for a long time if you want to.
And I think the record, like the last Movie Life record that you made, really should be getting you like newer fans, because I think that's like once you start turning over newer fans, like, you know, the kids that are like, you know, in their like early 20s, and those are the kids that are going to come to the shows, as well as like the jaded 30-40-year-old like old Movie Life fans, like, all right guys, but you know, like you take a band like Taking Back Sunday, like how they were able to continuously play is because they released records. And I feel like every 3 years they got new fans from those records that still came out. So you could still do it. And the fact that you guys made a really, really, really good record this time around, you know, hopefully the next one will be just as good. And then from there, like, you never know, man. You keep, you know, you got another 15, 20.
Yeah, I'm chilling. Like, I'm down to do it. I'm super stoked. Music still, everything. Yeah, Taking Back Sunday, Eddie Reyes from Taking Back Sunday is the reason we're all sitting here right now.
Absolutely.
And Eddie Reyes from your band.
Mine Never Matter.
Yeah. Was it No I Never Matter?
Eddie Reyes
started
with Artie Shepherd.
But what were you called? Didn't you have a different name? I could be wrong on that. That could be a fact that I thought I picked up when I was like 14.
No, I don't think so. I'm trying to remember.
You just stumped George.
I know. I stumped myself too.
It's not that hard.
Daryl would have an answer to that question, I think.
No, he started it. Like he started it, and he started all these bands.
He started all the bands.
Yeah, he started Movie Life.
Yeah.
I mean, he started Inside, Movie Life. I mean, Movie Life wasn't Movie Life. It was just Eddie was jamming with the dudes from the Sand Pebbles.
Right.
It was Alex and Evan.
I sang on a demo.
Yeah.
It was a Movie Life.
Yes.
But it didn't come out.
No, it didn't.
It was like you guys redid the song. I forget what it was.
I think
Daryl did the part.
We thought it was coming out. We recorded with Juan Garcia, right? I think no. We recorded a thing that never came out that you sang on.
I sang like 2 lines.
Yeah,
it was like
yeah.
nothing. Yeah, it was like
which was like the best thing ever. Like, holy shit, George is singing on this.
I forget what it was, but it was just like a sort of a repeat of what you did.
Yeah. I remember it was a song called Fake Blood.
Okay.
And it was and it was Eddie. It was an Eddie Reyes special. It was totally an Eddie riff. That song, it never got released, and then we re-recorded everything, and that's when Daryl did the part that you did.
Right. I remember like Eddie being sheepish about it. Like, it's like, where's my song? Yeah. And then I was like, I don't care, you know, like, but Eddie's a little fun to mess with.
Where my 2 lines?
No, this guy like disappeared, and then we were like, what's going on? Like, I don't know. It's a little hazy for me right now, but this guy definitely like scrapped the record kind of thing. Yeah.
And then it got re-recorded to be the actual record.
Right. You might be right. I don't know.
Like, it wasn't going to be anything.
I'm like in the cellar in my brain right now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to...
And then it was like, well, now we're... You know, because demo really actually means like demo the songs. We think of a demo back then was like your release.
Long Island, the demo was they got a new demo. And then you would sell the tapes, and like, that was huge.
Yeah, so in my mind, I'm like, I mapped it out for you guys. That's fine.
Nothing bigger than the V.O.D. demos. Jeez, those
were
the biggest demos.
The early shit. That was the other thing when the stuff you were talking to Tim about. I remember all those. So the demos, before the demos, they would record like the show through the soundboard onto a cassette tape, and then we would all copy it, and we would listen to like just live V.O.D. shows, and that's how we would learn the words to all the old songs. And
no bass player.
No bass player for a while.
Yeah, definitely.
Two guitar, and nobody cared.
And nobody cared.
They were still the best band, crazy heavy band.
It was. They just came in and took over.
And like I told Tim, like even for someone like me, like I was listening to the Lemonheads and Pavement, and but for some reason, like V.O.D. was like the only hardcore band that I was like, this is awesome. Like,
Pantera was the only other thing I listened to that was like that.
Yeah,
you know. I guess enough. I mean, I listened to Anthrax a little bit growing up, and like
That's my shit. I remember
don't
listening
know.
to State of
Early
Euphoria.
Metallica, maybe a little Metallica, a little Anthrax, but nothing, you know. But Pantera, that was what the Merrick crew was listening to. A lot of Pantera, a lot of Faith No More, and then, you know, Alice in Chains, all that kind of stuff,
Right.
and then all the grunge stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But also then hardcore started, and that was one of the first things when you first met all the Merrick dudes
Yeah.
at the Angle. I remember all this from a different standpoint, which is
Right.
fucking awesome. It was so fun for me to listen to your interview with Tim. The Angle, when my brother came back from that show that you guys were talking about,
Yeah.
he had your 7-inch. Is that when
Okay.
is that was it? Or whatever, maybe I'm messing it up. When
It could
you put
be.
that 7-inch out with
Wreck Age, the first one.
Soldier Unknown
Yeah.
and shit on,
Mhm.
yeah. I remember my brother coming home, putting it on whatever show he came home from, put it on the thing, put the record on, and then the clip from Full Metal Jacket.
Right. Yeah.
It starts. Samples were such a big
That
deal.
was the thing, yeah.
It was
Yeah.
so cool.
They were-
The first Movie Life demos were like, we need samples.
Yeah.
Like we literally just were like, what should we put? We need samples.
Right.
Don't care what it is.
You got to set the mood.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
do.
Samples, but actually,
It is moody.
Tim and your brother, your older brother Mike, was kind of like the first like people I met out of like V.O.D. and Merrick Crew, from what I remember. And I remember because V.O.D. just came in so hard. Like I saw them at the Angle sort of on accident, became friends with them. Then I booked the very first PWAC show with Mind Over Matter, V.O.D., Clockwise, and Big Sniff.
I was there.
And it was 200 people. And we were like, it was like the biggest show on the planet
Yep.
for us.
That
You
was
know.
the first one.
Yeah.
You made the
That
red
was the
T-shirt. I had the
very-
red T-shirt with the navy print on it.
It was
Remember
Mind
the
Over Matter show?
T-shirts? You made a T-shirt for the show.
Oh, for the show. Like, who does that?
It was like
You.
the T-shirt.
Yeah.
I
There
was
is
there,
a-
dude.
yeah.
It was amazing.
Right.
The T-shirt was like an anime character, like
Holy shit.
Akira
Oh,
or
yeah.
like something. Like it was basically just a flyer printed on a T-shirt.
Right.
And I remember. Do you remember me? I used to go to shows primarily with my other friend. We both looked exactly the same. His name's Ryan Charkwick. He's a New York City firefighter now.
Okay.
He and I used to go to all the shows. He was wearing my shirt from that first PWAC show that I bought, and we were fishing, and he was wearing my shirt, and he hooked himself in the back, and he had to go to the hospital, and they cut a big hole through the back of that
no.
T-shirt.
Damn it.
No, but he kept the shirt.
Oh, okay.
They cut a hole, they cut the hook out, and then he kept the shirt, and he would like wear it to the beach with like a hole in the back and
That's
shit.
fucking hilarious.
Holy shit.
That was an amazing.
Like a Hulk Hogan
That's the
shirt
first
now.
time I ever heard Big Sniff
Yeah.
and Crawl Space played, which was Christian McKnight. Wasn't that right?
Clockwise. Clockwise was Eddie Reyes, of course.
But didn't Christian and Josh Swank's band open? I'm pretty sure they did.
I don't think it was the very first show. 'cause
Oh, was that a different show? Sometimes
You
that
know what?
happens. That
I
your
blur all
memory.
of them,
Yeah.
But I think I got it right because it was the first one, and I booked it. It was on accident because I wanted to book the show at the Right Track Inn. I went to PWAC, which is People with AIDS Coalition,
Yes.
to get that. I wanted to do a benefit and have them come there. I was like, we'll get some flyers, some speakers. And they're like, oh, you can do the show here. But we went in the front, and the front is just like an office space. And they're like, we have this back room. It's like a Wizard of Oz, like the movie where
Yeah.
everything turns into color.
Yes.
And they have this big open
Huge
warehouse,
place.
like a gymnasium. He's like, you can do it here. And we're like, let's do it here.
Yeah.
And it was just on accident. I did that one show, and then Artie Philly, Rich Jacoby, like the common, what was
The
it?
Common Ground
Collective. They took it over. They just did the right thing. And
I didn't realize you
made
booked the first one.
the very first one.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
That was huge for a lot of us. That first show
It was like an after school special. It was like, we have a record store over there, small shows in the back room, the best graffiti artists painted everything, and sometimes we
Yeah.
have skateboard ramps.
Oh, it was
fuck
epic.
did this happen?
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Such a huge thing to so many of us, and my only regret is that I didn't start a band until after it was over, because that would have been like a huge like box ticked for me to say that I played PWAC that could have been way cooler. Long Island, dude.
I mean, the time that it was that great,
Even
was
Fugazi
probably
could say that.
small.
Yeah.
Was only a short-ish time, but it was just a time that bands like Fugazi came, Biohazard, like they skipped, Roxy.
Yeah.
It was more important to play this. They got paid better.
Mm-hmm.
Every show was some sort of benefit.
Roxy was not a good time, man. Not for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it was cool. I saw one of the best Long Island bills of all time was at the Roxy. Do you remember Strong Island 94? That's what it said on the flyer, so that's why I call it it Strong Island 94. It was kind of a festival.
Yeah. It was like 9 bands, the place was packed, and Frank Cariolo was like, all right, here's $100, guys.
Exactly.
Slap
He
us
made
on the
like
back. Thanks for coming around.
$10,000.
Next Sunday sound good? It was like
exactly.
Every guy seemed to do that. That's funny.
Like, we were like, what?
That was
Or he'd be like,
special.
well, we paid Neglect, and Neglect would be like, no, they said they paid you.
Yeah,
like-
exactly.
Gave us free drink tickets. Sold the fans with 16.
Yeah.
It was like,
That show was Mind Over Matter, V.O.D,
Neglect.
Neglect, D.A.
Yeah. There was 2. I think
Weebles
at least
played.
2 of them. There was like a few, like 8 band bills.
Right.
Everybody-
This is the one that, like,
Yeah.
whatever this one was. Crown, who I ran into the dude from Crown.
Ziggy. Jammy.
Fuck, no, another dude from Crown. Mike? No. I was shooting a thing for AOL to promote this new record.
Okay.
And they had a photographer like backstage. It was a strange experience. It was
That's Ziggy, the singer, the
Yeah.
black guy.
yeah,
That's Jammy, the photographer. That's who you're talking about.
that's him. Okay, yeah. I came across him. He goes, "Yeah, I used to play in bands too." And I was like, "What?" And he said Crown, and I was like, "I saw you at the Roxy in 1994." And we were both in this zone of like, it was like this. It's basically like people, like tourists line up around the block to take part in like this kind of TV show.
Okay.
Who was on there, babe, before I got on?
From Walking Dead, I think.
From Walking Dead, or like some TV shows or something. And there was
Okay.
people like, there's like a crowd of people like, woo! And like the dressing room's filled with like cupcakes and shit. We didn't know what the fuck was going on. It was the last, I guess it's like this good outlet to like promote music, and like some of our fans came and stuff, but like, and we played some songs.
Mm-hmm.
And the last place I thought I'd have the conversation of like, oh yeah, dude, fucking Roxy, like that was a huge deal. But like, yeah, the Roxy was, the PWAC felt like home, and everybody felt like we could be ourselves. Nobody caused trouble.
Right.
All the older dudes in the scene, compared to me and Daryl and all the guys our age, all those guys were in charge. Nobody was gonna fuck with it. We could police ourselves. The Roxy was definitely like the first time I had ever talked to a bouncer before. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like no one had ever frisked
But
me before.
I grew up going to shows like that at like Sundance. So on
Right.
some level, like in a band, and I know this is like taboo to admit, but I do like kind of like, all right, here's a sound system.
Right.
There's some lights. I like them both. I like a
Right,
fucking
right.
VFW hall, but I also like a little bit of sound.
So the Roxy did feel kind of like a next level. Like, hey,
It was
this is a
rock
rock show. This is some rock star.
So
yeah.
you get
big
you gotta,
stage.
You got to figure out how to fill a stage. You got to figure
Right.
out how to like.
That's true.
It feels weird because we're used to like no stage on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So you trying to figure out how to like play this sort of dense music that we did, and like project and be different than like just your friends being like, you guys were awesome.
Right.
So some of that shit was like a learning experience.
And that was a tall stage too, and that was really high up.
bouncers and like trying to just get cut through, and some like learning experiences there.
That show where you guys and V.O.D and Weebles, all those bands, amazing. First time I ever saw Neglect.
Mm-hmm.
First time I ever saw D.A. And that show, I ran off the stage. I remember I was wearing a Brooklyn Dodgers t-shirt, and that I got at like a vintage store or something. I know why. I don't know. You just remember stuff. I
Sure.
remember that day. I remember walking around Huntington, like
Yeah.
getting like candy and rock candy and shit from
Right.
all those little stores, and then seeing like the best show ever. And then I remember jumping off stage for VOD, and a bouncer caught me in midair. He was on stage and he was not having what was going on, and he pushed me as I was jumping off stage, and I landed on my ass on the ground, and the stage was easily 5-6 feet tall, so I just fell, and I fell so hard right on my tailbone. And the deal was, my parents were picking me and my friend Ryan up from literally, it was a daytime show into
Yeah,
the, like
it was
the night.
Sunday, like all day, 2 p.m. to whatever.
Yeah, and they picked us up. We were like, we gotta see DA. We
Yeah.
gotta see DA. And so I remember hurting myself so badly during VOD. I thought, I have to go to the hospital. I must have broken my tailbone.
Right.
I just fell like 8 feet because I jumped. So he hit me out of the air and I just flew to the ground.
Just swatted you like a fly.
Yeah, I was 70 pounds. and my parents were picking me and Ryan up to go drive upstate and go skiing for a week. And I couldn't ski because I had hurt myself at the show.
Jesus.
My parents were like, you're not allowed to go to these shows anymore. I'm like, I'm going to the shows. This is who I am now. I'm into this. I mean, as soon as you go to your first show, you're like, oh, God, this is it. This is all it is. I remember, like, in high school, like, what do you want to do when you grow up? Like, go to shows? I don't know. All I care about is going to shows. Like, I can't concentrate on anything.
Yeah,
shows are the best.
you become not only just seeing it, but part of that culture.
Mm-hmm.
And
I met so many new friends, too.
And it's a thing, too. I was talking to my cousin, who's about 10 years younger than me, at Thanksgiving. And he does music, and I'm like, I'm doing a podcast. I don't even do music anymore. I'm like, it's so weird to me, and it sounds silly because it's not something in a way that you're resting on laurels. But that time and that era still gives back to me to this day, that I could like call you and be like, let's do a podcast. And we have a relationship because of 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Or some of the guys that we've been talking to. Just some sort of like basis, some real grounding in something, a culture that this many years later just
it doesn't leave
gave
us
back to me more than I ever gave it.
right.
And it's interesting because that's just you're like your foundational core. Like, what do I think? What do I believe? And it's part of that. That's like a core
Right.
to
it's part
even
of who
this day
we are.
what I do.
Yeah. It's wild. It's amazing. I'm glad I had it growing up. Like,
Yeah.
it definitely helped me in a lot of ways. And I mean, it's obviously like why I'm a musician now, because I became a part of a scene a long time ago, watching you guys do your thing. And then Glassjaw kind of bridged that gap. Like, that was where our friends doing
Right.
the thing with you guys. We were like, holy shit, Glassjaw's playing with the big boys now. And, you know,
Right.
like, it's pretty special.
But we were then getting our asses kicked by VOD,
Right.
Glassjaw. Even though VOD was closer in age and whatever, like you're getting blown off the stage. People are leaving when you go on because the new band is in town.
Right.
And we sort of like kind of liked it. I don't know. We had a low self-esteem, and we also just liked the underdog, and like we
I
just
don't remember
trade.
that part.
Believe me.
Yeah. No,
It
I
happened,
believe
yeah.
you. I believe
Yeah.
you. I believe you.
And then, but you also like, let's say you didn't get blown off the stage, and there's just like a young band like TheMovieLife, and like they bring all their fans in, and you're like, okay, well, their fans were, we want to, appeal to them, and you really do like learn from each other. You just trade off constantly.
Yeah.
Still friends with a lot of these guys today, and we still talk. We still trade ideas. You still, and that's
and
from
I still
that.
draw from
that
those
original-
influences too.
Yeah.
Like, I got so much shit when I first started. I got shit from everybody being like, "You sound exactly like Tommy," and I was like, I can't help it. It's just what's coming out. Like, this throaty, singy thing. Still to this day, like, what are your influences? And I'm just like, I don't know. Like, how do you even know at this point what your influences are? It's like everything I've listened to from the first time I went to, well, not even the first time I went to a show, when my parents were playing records, I'm sitting in the back of the car.
Yeah.
Till everything.
That
it's
is
a hard
true.
question to answer.
Yeah, and Tommy Corrigan comes up I think at every podcast as being the one.
Well, he was doing. I mean, he was doing. Silent Majority was doing melodic hardcore, which on Long Island was commonplace. I mean, Long Island hardcore meant so many different things at the same time to me. You know, Movie Life slipped in there at some point, and it's like we were never a hardcore band. Like, we never felt like that, but we were still part of this Long Island hardcore thing. And unless you had to explain it to someone that wasn't there, they'd be like, "You're not a hardcore band." Be like, "Oh no, I know. It's this other thing that only we know about." You know what I mean? The people that were there.
Like me, I wasn't there.
Well, no, and it's nice to talk about, and it's nice to, you know, I mean, I love doing podcasts, and I like whenever I do, I'm always, you know, kind of let whoever's following me on social media and things like that, people that are interested in what I'm doing, I'm always trying to like, you should listen to this podcast if you actually want to know, you know, some stuff that you definitely don't know about the old days. Like, right. So it's really special and really cool. I'm glad I got to be a part of it even at like a young age, because it's definitely still one of the most important things I've been a part of. Even if I was a little shit, even if I was like the little shit, like
you might even had it a little harder because you got your brother was older, and people like V.O.D were, you know, like cool to you, but they're like, you know, your uncle's like, yeah, you know, you can't join the mafia just yet.
Yeah, and I knew
like you can, you know, so it's a little tougher than someone just coming out of nowhere and just being like, I got a band. They might get a little bit more of a break,
right?
Than you might have a tough road. Even someone like Daryl, who's like, you know, Daryl, he's cute. It's fine.
Right.
He's got a band, I heard.
Well, all of you guys.
Then you guys come in and sort of like, you know, make it your own thing. Right. And kick some ass. And even if there was derivative in the beginning, we all were derivative.
Everything was.
Trying to figure out what to do. It was like you just started acting like something.
But it was just so important that basis, and like, and all of you guys were cool to us, like when we were kids, and that was like the best. We always, and we knew that there was a time when it wasn't our time anymore. Like we knew, like, okay, youngins, go away. Where you've had your time with us tonight, you can fuck off now. We appreciated all the time that you guys gave us, and yeah, I mean, going to shows and being a part of it and having everyone like it, that's the other thing. It was a really accepting situation. You know, it's not always like that. Like sometimes it's hard being a young kid, like getting into something, and I definitely had a little foot in the door just because the Merrick bands happened to be my older brother and my older brother's friends.
Right.
So at least we could go. And I'm sure in the beginning my brothers weren't stoked that I was going, but they were cool enough. Like, you know, I was their little brother still. So they were just kind of like, I don't want them around. I remember my older brother Mike, like one time, like sabotaging me going to see Neglect. I was really young and I hadn't seen them yet.
Right.
And my brother was like, to my mom, I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea that he goes and sees the class.
Fuck, Mike.
I'm like, fuck you. It might have been a night where he was like, you know, I don't want him around. It's like a girl I want to talk to, or you know, we want to go drinking beers and I don't want my little brother around, you know.
Right.
I remember him sabotaging my first Neglect experience, though. I was just like mad, really angry at him. Neglect is still like, Neglect, Mind Over Matter, Silent Majority, V.O.D. Like, super crucial shit for me. Like, still I'll like listen to that, all of it.
And here we are 20 years later.
It's amazing.
Sitting in your living room.
I love it.
We always hear about emo night, and I have no idea what it is. It just seems to be like a DJ that plays whatever emo bands are, I guess. I don't know. I have no idea.
I like that. I feel like I don't want to tell you about it because I'll just keep you pure.
Yeah. I'm not going.
Which one?
The first one at Webster.
Oh, that wasn't the first one. My first one was in L.A.
Oh.
Listen, I told you about mushrooms back in the day. I didn't keep you pure.
So you went to one at Webster Hall?
I have DJ'd 3 different emo nights.
Oh man,
okay, the story thickens.
You're the guy.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not gonna get totally into this because last time I got into this, oh my god,
Did you get in trouble?
No, I didn't get in trouble. But this is the thing.
I just want to know
DJ.
what it is.
Not a DJ. Don't know how to DJ. Don't know how to do anything. Don't know how to hook up DJ equipment. Don't know how to. I'm pretty much my dad, like, as far as technology goes.
Okay.
Don't get into it. This lovely lady is my tech support.
Okay.
Nice.
I don't know how to do shit, and I just go, babe, like, tell me what to do with this phone. I don't know what to do.
So you do know how to do it.
Not DJing shit. Well, do you know how to? I guess a little bit. But anyway, do we need to get you a mic?
Yes.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Anyway, what was I saying? Okay, so when you're in a band, sometimes, like, if you're the singer of a band, sometimes people are like, you should DJ this thing because you're a thing and you can bring people out and stuff. And
Okay.
so Movie Life was playing a festival in California, and there's this thing called Emo Night, which is basically a party that is like, it's like a club night, except it's based around, you know, pop punk music, kind of. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like emo, like old school emo.
It's not like Rites of Spring or Sunny Day.
It's not.
No, exactly. So like if somebody like woke up from a coma and saw Emo Night, they'd be like, "That's for me," and they would go and expect to like, exactly like Sunny Day, like, and Mineral and everything. So it's not that. It's whatever anybody's calling emo now, which can still be anything. I mean, there's still like emo where you would go, oh, that's emo, and people do call it that. But at the same time, people would be like, yo, Fall Out Boy is my favorite emo band. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's a divide there. So they asked me to DJ, and it didn't go well. I didn't know what these people wanted to hear.
Right.
Felt really out of place. I felt like I was ruining their party.
What were you playing?
I played like, I was like,
Neglect.
I played Neglect. I played Grid.
Oh, no wonder.
Trip Face. I thought I was doing it right. I knew that I couldn't just play like what we were just talking about, like emo of what I thought was emo when I was 16.
I just can't picture Mineral at a party.
No, it's not that. No, it's not. And that's not it. I was like, I did a little bit of research. I was like, oh, it's not. Yeah. This is not that. So I knew that going in, but I was not willing to play music that I couldn't like stand behind. You know what I mean? I wanted to play music that I liked at least. Right. Otherwise, what, you know?
How long was the set?
It was short. It was like 20, 25 minutes.
Was that like planned before, or was that because you just bailed?
No. They're like, it's like you're making an appearance.
Oh, making an appearance.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
And nobody at Emo Night gave a shit that I was there. You know what I mean? There was like probably 800 people there or whatever. There's a lot of fucking people there.
Okay.
And maybe 20 or 30 people were like, hey, what's up? And everybody else was like, who? This isn't the singer of My Chemical Romance or whatever. Gotcha. You know what I mean? So I was just like, what's up? So I started with Glassjaw. I was like, this is a heavy-ass fucking song. These people should know Glassjaw. There was some people that were like, yeah, this is cool. But I could tell that the majority of the people that were there were not. They were very on the fringe of anything. Yeah. You know, like, I played Glassjaw. I played Thursday. I played my peers. You know what I mean? Like, my guys that, like, I came up with.
Which, fair enough. That's not playing.
And they're popular bands, too. Like, people should know it. I played Glassjaw, Thursday. Piebald, who I love, who I toured with a bunch. Saves the Day, who I also love. People like responded a little bit to things, but I was clearly not playing what people wanted to hear. And then I got asked to play in New York City. I got asked to DJ at a party for a clothing line called Glamour Kills, which are friends of mine. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was just their party. And then when I got and I put together a whole set, me and Laura sat on this couch and put together a set, like the sickest set of hip hop ever. Because I'm like, oh, it's a fucking party.
Right. I want to see that.
We're gonna do hip hop. The set, it's sick. It's
I gotta
nasty.
see it after this.
We still have the
It's on your iPad.
playlist.
Cool. I'll check it out after.
And we're just like, we put together this set where we're just like, and she came up with me too and like helped me DJ. And it turned out to be Emo Night. We didn't know it was Emo Night. We thought it was a party that my friends were throwing. And then it was like sponsored by Emo Night Brooklyn.
Yikes. So weird. So it's like they're all connected, I guess? Is it like
No, there's different sects. there's people like, we're emo night, and these other people like, we're emo night, and then there's a bunch of people like, fuck all of you. Yeah. Like, what are you? You know, it's a strange, you know, there's a lot of old dudes that are like, what's emo night? What are you talking about? This is why we're talking about this. Dear listener, we're talking about this because they were like, what's emo night? And so I'm just breaking it down.
That's what we were doing.
I'm breaking it down.
I got invited to one at Mulcahy's, and I was like, my friend who's 30 was trying to fill me in on what it is, and he explained it to me, and I still had no idea what the fuck he was talking about.
It's basically a club night where you're playing music and shit, but like, anyway, I
Sam was
fucking
like, let's
bombed.
ask Vinnie.
Yeah.
It's good that you asked me because it's funny. Like, I bombed in LA, and then I bombed at Webster Hall.
Bombing by Coastal.
Yeah, I'm down too because this isn't my job. I don't care. So I wasn't trying to bomb, but I just couldn't get it right. I put together all hip hop because that was the other thing. When rap would come on, and like rap, like we're talking about like Drake and like pseudo like trap kind of pop trap.
All right, so
stuff.
basically like people singing over semi-hip hop beats.
Yeah, when that would come on at the LA night, when I was like just hanging out before I was on stage, I was like, they're responding to this more than, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So like, I put together this sick rap set for New York, and it was like nobody wanted that at all, and I was just like, I'm bombing. And then Long Island was like, we're doing emo night over at Amityville Music Hall.
Okay.
And I abandoned the rap thing, and I went back to, you know, played the Get Up Kids. I played the emo that I thought people there wanted to hear. That didn't work.
What did they want?
Yeah,
I have
what the
no
fuck
fucking
do
clue
they
what they
want to
wanted.
listen to? Because everything you described every band on the planet, basically.
Maybe it's just my face that they hated or something, but like...
Shout out to AMH, though.
No, I love that place. And
All right, now I need to know. We got to investigate this emo night thing.
Yeah,
you should go undercover at emo night.
I can't go undercover.
You know
they
what?
would sniff you
25
out.
years.
That is not a bad idea. We might have to...
I just want to know.
You don't need to go undercover. You just like go and just look. So, yeah. So now I've made it very clear that I've retired from DJing at emo nights. It's difficult when someone's like, yo, do you want to DJ? Oh, we'll pay you this. And you're like, yeah, I'll definitely come and sip whiskey and play music.
Sure.
I used
That's
to get
really
paid.
easy. I don't have to load anything in. I don't have to sing.
20 minutes,
I don't have to warm
25
up my
minutes.
voice. I don't have to sweat. I'm literally just hanging out.
I used to DJ in Astoria for like, you know, maybe like 6 months, and it was the best shit ever. They would pay me, and I would just play music to people. Like, you know, you read the crowd, and like it was awesome. It was on Fridays.
I was reading that they hated me, but I didn't know
Did you
where to
watch
go
any
from
of the
there.
other DJs? Well,
Yeah,
you
but
said,
I was,
yeah.
but I, like I said, I was going my own way. Literally, like the other, it was just the same shit. They would play like 4 or 5 songs from one band and the other, and like it would be 6 or 7 bands throughout their whole set, and they would just keep going back to band to band to band to band. Like, and I guess they were reading the crowd because they were like, "Oh, I'm gonna play another Taking Back Sunday song," you know what I mean? But like, I wasn't willing. I wanted to play at least stuff that I wanted. First of all, that I had planned to play.
Right, it's not a
because
wedding.
I don't know how.
You're not like, well, I guess I got to play the Macarena again.
Well, I also had to play the stuff that I had planned to play because I made the playlist and
Right.
I didn't know how to. I didn't know how to
like go on the
I don't
fly.
have
and
a
just
vast library of songs on like my iPad and shit. I just had like what I had. Like I have plenty of music, but
Honey-
it's not anything
honey-
anyone's gonna party to. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm just picturing, honey, how do you skip a song?
Yeah, I was just like, I remembered saying to you during the Webster Hall fucking nightmare, where I was like, and I will say this though, all of the bouncers at Webster Hall came up to me after, and they were like, "Yo, that was one of the best sets, like hip hop sets I've ever seen DJ'd here." And they're like, "You got to come back. You
Yeah.
got to come back."
Maybe you're
And
at the wrong party.
Everyone and all my friends were working at like a lot of my friends were running Webster Hall before it closed, like putting everything on, and they were all like, everybody's talking about that set. Like the whole crowd hated it, but they were like, you have like a future in this. Like,
So you know
thing.
what? I like this.
I'm not against DJing. I'm not against DJing. I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm not against DJing. I'm against DJing emo night because I can't get it right. So I'll stay away from that. But I like the idea of DJing.
For
This is
me,
good.
to make the people
Like for fun, you know?
to make
Stay away from emo night, mini popcorn.
yes,
Right?
I'll never
yes.
touch this stuff again.
Just stay away from
Snow.
things that are hipster, emo. Anyway.
Snow, yeah.
Snow,
I
definitely.
gotta move out of
To
New
make
York.
people happy that work at a venue or like the owners, that's
big.
awesome.
That's big.
That's pretty goddamn big. So like that's like DJing at Webster Hall and like the people around, or like if you said the bouncers, security guard,
All the bouncers and the staff. So the staff is all like friends and people like, people in our kind of broad scene of things. And all the staff was like real deal Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, Harlem, like dudes that know hip hop. That after the like, remember that? I remember walking out with my like tail between my legs because I was like, that was terrible. And on the way out, this big ass dude was just like, yo, that was fucking amazing. And I was like, thank you so much. I thought it was good too.
Fair enough. That's
Yeah.
I'm gonna sneak a peek at that playlist before we leave. Anything else?
No, I think that's it because I wanted to end on a high note
Okay.
because I was bringing you into the, some of the down stuff. So here we are. I think you have a future in hip hop DJing.
Maybe.
wrong?
I can't get down with a lot of the new stuff though.
Well,
The
because
stuff that's going on, it's bad. A lot of it.
I'll give you a few names you could check out.
Okay. Yeah, no,
Find something
listen,
good.
I know there's real hip hop out there still, but like the stuff that's on the surface, like the contemporary stuff, it's pretty fucking bad.
Just
It's
like
bad,
anything,
bad.
like you could like
No,
like
you're right.
Like Nickelback is on the surface of like whatever, like you got to just dig, and whoever likes Nickelback, more power to you. But I'm just saying, like sometimes you want to dig for something, like when you find that onion ring down at the bottom of that fry bag.
Is there anything better?
No,
Yeah, that's a nice analogy. That's cool.
that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
So, guide.
So that's it. I think we got ourselves a podcast.
Cool.
And
Oh,
What?
the last question though.
last question. Oh, you want to take this one, Sam?
All right, so the name of the podcast is called If I Ruled the World, okay? So we wanted to ask the people that we speak to, on a planet where Vinnie Caruana ruled the world, what would that consist of?
The thing that comes to mind immediately is just equality. And I know that that's something that will never be achieved, especially now. We're going backwards, but equality, loving our fellow man and woman. That's so important, and it's something that the good people keep going in their lives at least, but like, equality across the board would be really special, but it's never been that way and it'll never be that way.
And maybe a little clarity on
We're
emo
getting
night
dark again.
equality and everything awesome, and a little clarity on emo night.
Yeah,
the world
I can
would be
yeah,
fine.
yeah. Equality and loving, just love instead of hate, but fuck, shit's grim out there.
That's a tall order, but
we got to fight with love.
if you're, if you rule the world, it's your thing. So that's what you'd want, equality.
I
across the
hereby
board.
decree that love is the cardinal rule. And yeah, I'm not interested in hate. I'm not interested in anything like that anymore.
Okay.
All the
It's an executive
positivity,
order.
all the positivity and beauty in the world, I would like at my fingertips. That's all I want to see. So that even if we are in this ugly world, like I'm still gonna move forward, looking for beauty and the good side of things.
And we could look forward to more movie like another record, because you guys said you're
More movie life stuff, more Vinnie solo stuff, probably even some more I'm the Avalanche stuff. It doesn't stop until it does, and that doesn't seem to be in the picture for me. I'm not interested in
That's good to
stopping
hear.
anytime soon. So appreciate you guys coming over.
Thanks for having us
Yeah,
in your living room.
Yeah,
definitely
I'm stoked to have you guys here.
So yeah, thank you for doing this. Thank you for your wife.
Do you want to
and
say goodbye? I know
Yeah.
you didn't have a microphone, Levy.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Shout out to Houston.
All right,
That's right.
All right.
All right.
peace.
If I ruled the world, I love 'em, baby.